I had prepared the traditional presidential speech for today, one where I could tout our successes on increasing our international efforts this year and celebrate the success of the Lantern's journey around the world. But events of the past few days have spurred me to change my direction. I'm going to tear up that traditional speech and speak to you from the heart. I have never been known to be a traditional kind of guy, and I guess today will be no different. As you may have read, in May, when I was asked to introduce Representative Ro Khanna at our Day at the Hill event, I asked those of you who were in the audience to raise your hand if you had been the victim of assault in the workplace. Nearly every hand in the room immediately shot up, and the picture became one of the most shared pictures on ENA's social media. Although I have always known that emergency nurses are the victims of workplace violence regularly, even I was shocked to see so many hands shoot up, and it stirred a small sense of urgency inside of me, one which I frequently talked about, but did nothing to act upon. That sense of urgency was heightened in August when I was made aware of 3 different incidents around the United States in which emergency nurses were not only assaulted, but injured. Although these 3 incidents share some commonalities, they also contained stark differences. In one case, a nurse was repeatedly bitten by a patient and required time off work due to her injuries. When she tried to report the incident to law enforcement, she was discouraged from doing so by her supervisors and hospital administration because the patient's mother had threatened to sue the hospital. It is important to note that those who discouraged this nurse from reporting the abuse were nurses themselves, one of them an emergency nurse in a managerial role. Although this nurse's physical injuries healed, the emotional scars that the incident left behind, coupled with the lack of support from her administration, caused her to leave her employment. During that same week, I learned of a nurse who was slapped across the face while delivering care in the emergency department. Now, in this case, the nurse was strongly encouraged to report the incident, but refused to do so, citing the fact that the injury, in her words, wasn't that bad. I learned of a third nurse that same week who was kicked in the face while working in the emergency department. Although no bones were broken, the assault left him with visible bruising. This nurse not only chose to report the assault to hospital administration, but carried through with pressing charges against the assailant. As ENA president, I wanted to reach out to these 3 individuals and allow them to tell their stories, to offer them support and sympathy on behalf of all of us as members. After speaking with these individuals that week, my heart was so moved by what I had experienced that the sense of urgency within me welled up again. I wanted to design a way for nurses to tell their stories, to shout to the world that we are not safe at work, that people intentionally hurt us, and it seems at times like no one cares. Enough is enough. Today is the day. I have set up a Facebook page that can be found at Go Raise Your Hand, where I strongly encourage you to go and share your stories and pictures. How were you assaulted in the workplace? What was done about the assault? Every time you're assaulted at work, add your story to the list. Let's build a repository of stories that can be used to influence policy and legislation around the world. The time is now to tell our story, not to talk about our experiences, but to shout them so loudly that we cannot be drowned out. And I will end my remarks today the same way that I ended my remarks 1 year ago before this assembly. Dreams are the foundation of the future, but dreams realized are the foundation of success.